Hi, I'm Heather Banks. I'm recording my PowerPoint final for Exceptionalities ECCE 2202 in the end of the fall 2021 semester, and I am so thankful that it's almost done. I read through a lot of the competency areas in the syllabus, and I grabbed three that really stuck out to me. The first one is identify the types of collaboration necessary to provide early intervention for young children with autism and related disorders. So I am an autism mom, and I honestly thought that this was the area of this class that I would excel in, that I would know all the answers to, and that I would sort of not really have to work. And in this area, it really expanded my view of whole child therapy and approach for students with autism. My son does not have OT or PT services at this time, but it's taught me some new ways to advocate and request evaluations for those services that may be beneficial to him. Um, just I also ran across different views on ABA therapies, applied behavioral analysis, and first then strategies that we were able to implement at home and really address some social and emotional learning. And so this was one of the competency areas that really had just a really big impact on me. The second one that I chose was about manual languages and systems to transcribe them. Oh my goodness, I think it was week 5 or 6 when we saw Mason using the Mountbatten system. And it was just fascinating the way he had learned to use his fingers. And he, as a very young elementary student, could explain to you how to bring that about and how to use his Braille reading and writing. That was just amazing to me. And his visual aid teacher was speaking, and she was like, this is not the system that he will use in middle school or high school or beyond. We know that this is just a starting point for him. And I really think that so often when we think of low vision accommodations, we think of this very static braille signs on the wall, and they're small, and they're really there as a nod to like the ADA requirements, but they're not really integrated. And I just thought how amazing it was um, that his Braille writer was so integrated into their classroom. And I'm certain it's also a point of pride for him because I'm certain his friends would have loved to use that with him and are probably a little bit jealous. And it was just so wonderful to me. And also the dexterity that he understood a different way to hold his finger or to press down was to create a different letter because there's not, a full alphabet keyboard. And so I just think it was also a way to recognize the special abilities that he had to be able to learn to use the Mountbatten effectively. Um, because it honestly looks like a stenographer's pad, from a court reporter, and it takes such special training, and he was so fluent in it. It's one of those things. It's a good reminder that one disability doesn't mean they have other disabilities. So he may have low vision, and his mom said he was blind in one eye and only had a partial retina in the other. We need to remember that just because he has a vision impairment does not mean that he has an intellectual impairment. And I just thought that was just a really good reminder there. The third competency area I chose was examining giftedness as it relates to creativity and talent. So my husband is also an educator, and he has just gone through his gifted certification, and we were just really talking about the different things that he learned, and sort of I was learning at the same time. And I am a very left brain, cerebral, black and white kind of person, and our son with autism, his creative expression, we have learned to start seeing it as just the biggest blessing. We were painting pumpkins, and I thought, he might paint a little bit on his pumpkin and walk away, but he took off his shirt and he had two paint brushes, and he was just splishing and splashing and going on, and he was telling a story as he painted. And I just thought, oh my goodness gracious, this is the biggest thing, is that his giftedness was in how he was able to create. And I really think when we think of giftedness, we tend to only think of it in an academic and linear type of way. And the giftedness and creativity and the arts just brings such richness to life. That would be something that would be so sorely missed. And so I just really think that exceptionality standard was something very important to go over. So how it affects me, um, wow, uh, so much. So really learning to look at almost all disabilities on a spectrum level and thinking outside of a diagnosis for the student was really big for me. Understanding and learning the differences between IEPs and 504s, I think, was pivotal for me, especially as a mom who's advocating for my child that has several diagnoses, and understanding that there's different types of supports that are going to come with different types of plans. So the first and foremost thing that I put down there is that this class has shown me that no matter what lesson and no matter what classroom, I should always plan in accommodation. Um, I specifically wrote about having children having unidentified needs, but I also think children might have sporadic needs, especially as they're going through learning stages, and they might have a delay, and so they might be in a catch-up stage, or they might have been on level with their peers. And I really think also just emotionally, you should always have an accommodation because you don't know what the child is experiencing outside of your classroom or what they're experiencing internally. And it may be a day that they just need the accommodation to be available for them to feel the value from you. And so it may be a student that typically struggles with some type of thing, and you're like, hey, I brought you a special pad to sit on at circle time, or hey, I thought you could come do your work with me in a green crayon today, so that would be super fun, and green is like growing, and it's all of these basic accommodations that can just really step in and help the child before they're having to express their own need, but they're seeing expressed value. So the second thing that I put in was about the responsibilities of a teacher, especially in early childhood settings, to track milestones and just evaluate the children's activity level. I think so many things are under-identified as children who have reading delays or poor muscle coordination, and so often it can really be put off, especially in a daycare setting or a larger group setting, and children are going to just continue to struggle. And so as a lead teacher, I really think it's important that, we have a portfolio tracking system or even a checklist system, and we're able to say, hey, you're drawing your straight lines, or you're doing really good on this, doing good on that, but being that we are making ourselves aware of where our students might be struggling so that we can identify areas of potential need. And third, and certainly not final, but I just came up with 3 to fill the slide, the course reminded me that although I am aware of how to accommodate many needs, because I did go to a school that had a severe and profound class in elementary school, so I saw a lot of accommodations in my growing up years. My sister's a special ed teacher, my husband's a teacher, I have special ed kids, and so often it feels like I've reached expert level, I have a full knowledge of what my student needs. This class has taught me that there's always someone else who knows better, and that we need to listen to the voices of adults who have walked through these disabilities also, and that they should be speaking into our treatment plan just as much as I should be. And so I just really think it was a matter of learning to continue to learn and gather information as a parent and as a teacher and as a community advocate to increase access and support for all, but especially our students. So we took a look, we had 3 disabilities to look at. The first one, I'm telling you that Mountbatten was super important to me. So I looked at the visually impaired with people with low vision or people that are legally blind. Adaptations that you might see in a classroom would include a magnifier. There's a couple ways that that could look like. It can look like a document camera that then magnifies it onto a personal tablet, a screen on the wall, or just a computer screen, or just a physical magnifying glass like you would think of, or sometimes a magnifier lamp with a light is very helpful. Screen-based adaptations are excellent, especially as more and more classrooms are becoming paper-free. This would simply be like a large format on your screen. Focus sliding, so one of the best ways you can support students with low vision is to have them in classrooms that have natural light and then focused or task lighting. And then sound responses, and so I thought that was really good. So if the teacher is going, and doing like a question and answer time, and things like that, children with low vision may not be able to interact with the teacher as well. So they might have a bell or a dinger or something like that that they could use for a sound response. Some of the assistive technology devices that we saw, I put in the Mountbatten. It was just fascinating to find the companies that sell them and how they differ. There's higher and lower end values of them, but they're all very interesting. And then one that I didn't think of, I found this really cool website. It was like the A to Z of assisted technology for low vision. And they suggested a yellow-black high contrast display. And I think so often we default to the black and white high contrast, but apparently a yellow-black contrast is actually better for a lot of people with low vision. So I thought that was a really cool assistive device. In a learning activity, I thought a sound-based activity would be fantastic. So in the Literacy Center, I thought of large format animals flashcards, and then I put CD player because I still use them in my preschool classes and we use them at church. But you could certainly do it with like Alexa, play animal sounds or play my animal sound list. You could do it with like a little personal recorder or MP3 player, but have a way that the children would play a sound and then using the large format flashcard match the animal to the sound that they heard, so that we're reinforcing things, and the student with low vision hopefully can use the card in that way. So the next disability I chose was cerebral palsy. Adaptations that you're going to see with cerebral palsy are definitely going to be alternative seating, an individual aid, nonverbal responses, and extended time for them to accomplish tasks. Some of the technology devices that you're going to see are communicator boards. Those can be very high tech and very low tech. So I have seen students have simply a board on their wheelchair that has pictorial elements and they will point to, and then some people have the electronic communicator boards that are on there, and then of course eye tracking devices. You can see them that sometimes they will wear them with glasses that have an LED pointer on the side, or you will see them that's truly just visual tracking on there. I think the show Speechless showed a really great example of the different technologies to be used. So for cerebral palsy, I thought a learning activity called This or That would be fun. It would just be learning about yourself. So do you like circles or squares better? Are you a chocolate or vanilla? You know, sun or rain? Do you like to sleep with a blanket or sleep with a quilt? You know, just things like that. And you know, sometimes we'll do it like sit or stand, you know, this or that, come to this side of the room or that side of the room. But I thought it'd be fun for students to use like buzzers or bells to respond. And so with cerebral palsy, it often accompanies with physical tremors, and so fine motor skills are very difficult, but the gross motor skills, they can usually control enough to hit that buzzer or ding that bell or do the things to offer their responses. And I think that could be just a really fun total inclusion activity. And then I chose dyslexia as my third one. So the adaptations with dyslexia that you're going to see are graphic organizers, recorded directions, and simplified directions. Because giving a child a worksheet and expecting them to be able to just do it all or do front and back is not at all a reasonable expectation for dyslexia. Some of the assistive technology, I didn't even know this existed, but smart pens. So it will take the movements that the person is doing and translate that into digital for you, and it will help with spelling and things like that. So smart pens are really cool. Electronic math sheets. This was a really fun way to help students and not have it in a paper or pencil way. And then a personal FM radio station where the teacher recorded directions step by step, and they're able to tune into it on a small radio with an earbud, and that they can repeat their directions as needed. So I thought a fun one for them would be a letter trace activity. So on the smartboard in the classroom, I suggested a selection of 6 to 10 sight words with pictures, and turning on the smart pen so that the student can trace over the letters in the sight word picture with the color of their choice. So that's going to help them reinforce correct letter formation and correct letter ordering in a really fun and inclusive way. I did include all of my references here. I tried to look for and this is going to sound silly, I tried to look for non-educational references. I really tried to look for advocacy groups that were centered in the population with the disability themselves and see their suggestions rather than an educational suggestion. I really wanted to hear from the community about the things that are supportive for students. So that is it. Exceptionalities has been amazing, and I look so forward to be able to create an inclusive classroom because of it.